Hi BookTube, it's Gina, and I want to talk to you today about something that is a little bit different, and that is financial planning books. So this is probably not the usual topic of discussion here on BookTube, but I've already talked about my cookbooks, and so I want to talk about some money books now. I'm in a place in life where I am reflecting on my money over the years, where I started, where I am heading. I'm 53 and I'm thinking about retirement soon. And so I've been thinking a lot about money and managing money. And I'm also I love financial planning. I would consider it a little hobby of mine. I love thinking about financial planning and all of the things that are associated with that. So since it's such an important part of my life and it's been on my mind, I thought it would be fun to share some of the books that have been the most impactful over the years. Now, keep in mind that most of these are probably no longer relevant. They are, I'm 53, so these are books that are older, but I think they all still offer some tidbits of information. And I think it's interesting to think about when we talk about finances, how things change over time. So the first book I want to talk about, I don't actually have a copy of, is Suze Orman's 9 Steps to Financial Freedom. And I know Suze Orman, she's gotten a little off the rails recently, but this book I read back when I was in my 20s, and it was really the first book I ever read that talked about money in a way that made me think about it differently than I had been thinking about it in my 20s. I didn't have any money. I, of course, was at college and working as a waitress, and just spending and not thinking about it. And that book was so important to me because it was the first book that really made me think there is some strategy behind how you deal with your money. There are things you need to think about with your money that can make a big impact. And so that book is really, really important to me. The second book that I want to talk about, and I do still have the original copy that I read when I was back in my 20s, is Your Money or Your Life. Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Achieving Financial Independence by Joe Dominguez and Vicky Robin. I think Joe Dominguez has passed away, and I think Vicky Robin actually lives in my neck of the woods up here somewhere, now that I think about it. And this book is still relevant. Now, the financial planning part where it's talking about buying T-bills and treasuries is completely not applicable anymore. But this book is all about, really it is about transforming your relationship with money. It talks about things like how to think about the money that you make in relation to the money that you spend. For instance, if I want to spend $50, how many hours of my life do I have to work to trade that time to earn this money to buy this particular thing? And it really did transform my relationship with money and helped me to start thinking about ways that you spend money that just don't give you pleasure or make you happy. So what this led me to was a phase where I went to the Tightwad Gazette and these frugal sort of budgeting and penny pinching and being thrifty books. And this one's fantastic. I still flip through it every once in a while when I go on a little spending bender, or I am starting to feel a little overmaxed with spending. It's so calming to flip through some of these books and just look at some tips for how to save money, she definitely goes above and beyond what I would ever consider. But I find it very calming. And, this was a phase in my life where I was in saving mode. I was trying to be frugal. I was really backlashing against my days in my 20s where I didn't think about money and I was just spending and getting credit cards. And so this was kind of the pendulum swinging the other way to get to some thrift and some thoughts about saving. And this was really important to me because I think you have to have a balance with your money. I this is the last book I mentioned. I'm going to talk about this more because I think there really needs to be balance between thrift and penny pinching and being frugal and having a really rich and satisfying life. And so we're going to get to that. But the probably the most important books to me as far as money goes are these John Bogle ones. I'm definitely a fan of Vanguard mutual funds. This is Common Sense on Mutual Funds. This is old, so a lot of this information is probably no longer relevant, and I could probably get rid of this book, but it's from 1999. But it's so valuable to me just because I really started thinking about, I from my spending phase to my frugal stage to my adulting and saving money and starting to think about the future stage, and thinking about how I want to invest. He also wrote this book called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing, the only way to guarantee your fair share of stock market returns. And I buy into this philosophy 100%. I really appreciate the no-nonsense method of investing, about really not having to think much about it. Has worked really, really well for me. And so this is a really fantastic, really easy book with chapters like Yesterday's Winners, Tomorrow's Losers, Fooled by Randomness, really about why index fund investing is so important and so much more valuable over the long term. And then lastly, I don't have a copy of this book because I read it online, but this is sort of where I am now in my stage. And it is a book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And the title of the book is a little cheesy. He's got a website, and of course, he sells courses and things. But the book is fantastic because the focus of the book is very practical, and it's on things like automating your finances. I literally think about my finances for maybe 15 minutes a week. I don't pay any bills. Everything is pretty much, I pay one bill, actually, my water bill, because they're not online. So, they're very practical things like automating your finances. And what I love about this book and this philosophy that I've now moved to is it's really about living a robust and rich life. And that doesn't mean rich in the actual I am rich state, way of thinking about it. It's not that. It's what is a rich life to you? What's important to you? For me, it's being able to buy books, being able to go to the bookstore and buy the books that I want without having to agonize over, is it 20% off? Is it not? Not that I don't still find value in finding things like that on sale, but really what makes you feel like you're living a full life. And so those are the things now that are on my mind as I'm starting to think about retiring and planning for the future. What is my rich life? How do I want my life to be? Where do I want to put my money? What do I want to spend it on? So those are some really fun, I think it's really fun to think about. Like I said, I love the financial planning. It's probably one of my favorite hobbies. It's just because it's a hobby, but it's also so relevant to life, of course. So I find it really fun to save, but I also find it really fun to spend. I would say I'm not in the frugal mode anymore, but I like to be thrifty. I think there's value in not spending money unnecessarily, but then there's also value in spending money on the things that make you happy. And so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit today. And I'm kind of, like I said, thinking about retirement. It's been on my mind. And so something I wanted to share with you. Thanks. Bye-bye.